Hi sewing friends, my name's Karina and this is Lifting Pins and Needles, where I talk everything sewing, everything sewing. If you've been watching me for a while, you know I delve into lots of different avenues to produce the craft that I love. So for this video, I want to show you pattern hacking, which is something I adore. I love having the creative freedom to take a pattern that's well made, that fits well, that is like a blank slate for me, where I can just do a few little changes and create something extra. So I have got my Melrose top. I've shown you this a few days ago. This is view C, just a normal top without any modifications as per the pattern, because I was a pattern tester. And I'm not going to talk about the top here. I just want to show you the hack. If you haven't seen my previous video, you can hop over there and have a look. I'll put a little card up here and the link down below. For a while, I've been thinking what to call this little segment that I insert into all my vlogs, where I show you all the sewing. And I've decided to call this Up Close and So Personal. Now, up close because, you know, I like to provide with really up close footage of me sewing. I think it could be really useful to see actually where I put the needle, how I stop, like very up close. And so personal because so personal. I am inviting you into my personal sewing space, in my area, in my personal space where I'm doing the sewing. I am trying to get you to see through my eyes the way I sew, and I hope that can inspire you, get you to try some of these techniques that I try to simplify as much as I can so that they can be doable. So, up close and so personal, coming in now. For my two Melrose top that I've done, because I've worked with slippery, silky type fabrics, I did make the full pattern piece so I could cut my front and back on a single layer on the fabric. It also saves a lot of fabric, so I already have this. Now I'm just going to do a very simple hack. And on the front, I just chose a place that's further away from the point there of that dart. So about an inch towards the middle of the body. I'm doing a straight line there and then just curving that out using this ruler. I'm going to cut this and this will just become two pattern pieces. So I have two pattern pieces now for the front. When I cut them out on fabric, I just need to leave myself a bit of seam allowance there to reattach them. And here on this area at the bottom, I'm going to have a little opening, and it's going to be pretty small. I'm going to mark it there, about 6 centimeters from the bottom up there. And I'm going to actually do a little opening. So my stitch line is just going to reach up to there. And then that little slit is going to be open. And I'm going to use the same pattern pieces. So I have two pattern pieces here. This is the front band and this is the back band. That's going to go all the way around the bottom of my top, all the way around, and actually finish here on these slits. So there'll be a strap hanging that way and a strap hanging that way. The other little change I needed to make was to lower the neckline on the top. So I'm just going to fold this in half. So this is the original neckline of the blouse. And I'm going to use my little curved ruler, and I want to lower it by about an inch, so not that much. It's not going to deform like the shape of the top or anything. So I'm just going to make a mark there, an inch down from the original, height. And then I'm just going to carry on for about a centimeter and some centimeter and a 5/8 or an inch. I'll go straight across and then start my curve. Find the curve that I like, that will sort of match the neckline there. Like, I don't want to change the width of the shoulder on the top. There we go. So I've not fiddled with that. That's not going to get wider on me, and I've just lowered it down. So I'm just going to cut this out now. I'm cutting it with the paper folded so I get the same on the extended piece. So here are my pattern pieces. There you can see the amount. I've just taken it down. That's the bit I've chopped off. just for comfort. I'm going to construct the top as normal, and when I get to this area, about this little slit area and attaching the bands, I'll show you a bit more. That is the seam that's going to go sort of on the side, and so I want my bands at the bottom to match. Right here is where the slit is going to start, right there. Here where my seam ripper is. I have a bit of seam allowance, but that's where that area is going to stop, and from there onwards my band, which in this case is going to be a tie, I want it to have some length. So from there I measured how much longer I wanted my band to be. From that place there, 29 centimeters extra, and that is going to be enough to tie. And then for the shorter bit, I did the same. This is the shorter bit right there. That is where my seam is, where I'm putting the seam ripper. Here is my band that's going to go right there. And from there to the end of that band, finishes here. I've also measured 29 centimeters. If you look at these bands, they are not the same, and that's because I am tying them on the side. So one needs to be longer, one needs to be shorter. But in essence, I will have the same 29 centimeters from there on, and from here on to tie, you know, so they'll be the same. I have the blouse assembled. Here are the bust darts there. There is that seam I put on one of the sides, and the little slit I left here. And now you might think I'm crazy the way I've pinned my bands. I basically have the right side of the band with the wrong side of the blouse. Then I'm going to get this, once that's sewn, fold it up there, match it to the seam, pin it all the way around, baste it, and I'm going to be top stitching this on the visible part of the blouse, and this is how I get better results rather than doing it the other way around. So here you can see my seams there on the side that match the front and the back bands. You can see that one of these front bands finishes there at the slit, and the other band is shorter because this part is shorter and it matches there. Okay, so here you can see up close the little slit there, and this part that's dangling, I have actually pinned it together like that. And I have drawn a little slant because I want these ties to finish, you know, in a point there, not rectangle. So I'm going to sew this and stop before that pin right there, because that's where the slit starts. So probably I'm going to leave myself 3 centimeters there of a gap. So I'm going to start sewing there all the way down and the slant, and then I'm going to flip this, you know, so it's you know, flip it to the right side, and I'm going to do that on the other band as well. So I have my little mark there with that vertical pin. I'm going to sew up to about 3 centimeters before that, starting on the point up to there, stop, and then I'm going to flip that way around, and then I'm going to continue finishing the band. I'm starting to sew on that point. As you see, I get to that little place there, drop the needle, pivot, and then continue sewing this little tie until about 3 centimeters before my reference point there, that vertical pin that you see there. That's just so I have space to flip this tie around to the other side. I do that on both sides. I have to clip that extra fabric there because that used to be a rectangle. I don't want that bulk. And then because this is really slippery fabric, I don't do anything fancy to flip it around, but just, you know, flip it around with my fingers because it slides really easily. To get the point nice and sharp, I have a really thick needle and I just carefully put that point out like that. So I have done that on both sides. I have that little space there. You can see where the band is sewn onto the body of the blouse there. And then I'm just going to sew this thing all the way around, and what I did in 3 minutes you can see in like 10 seconds right here. There is the other reference point coming up there on the other side of the ties, as you can see there, and I'm also going to leave a space there. When this is sewn, you can see how these ties meet there where I left that little slit. Now you don't have to use slippery fabric like me, it's really shifty, but I'm just folding that band up to that seam, and I'm going to pin all the way around, you know, all the way around the bottom of this top, and then I'm going to hand baste it, and then I'm going to top stitch it closed. So I'm taking the time to do that. I lost my tripod, so I had to film with one hand, you know. So you can see I've started sewing that little tie bit closed. There, all those 3 centimeters I had open to flip it, I started sewing there. There you can see my light colored hand basting that I have to pull out, and everything has been sewn and is all closed up and ready. I thought I'd show you inside out so you could understand better what I've done. You can see there where the slit is and how the tie finishes there on both sides, and how I've started sewing right there to finish that little gap I had to be able to flip it around. So it's very nice and clean, very nicely finished, and this is what is going to allow me to do the tie right there. Okay, so here's my finished top. It's got all these brown tones, and I love the print that it looks like it's being cut on the bias, but it's not. The print is actually like that diagonal. Whenever I see a print like that, I'm always drawn to it, you know, because this is cut on the straight grain, you know, normal. So here is that seam that you can't really see because of the print, the little slit that goes there, and the little ties, and that little shape I wanted it to have there, you know, to finish in a point, not a rectangle. So you saw how I did that, how easy it was. All the rest of the top is exactly the same neckline, the same bands on the cuffs, it's all the same. So I'm just gonna pop it on so you can see. Okay, so here's my top. You can see it's the same everywhere. Size 10, the same size I cut previously with my original ones. And you can see it's got the same nice ease around the waist and the hips. And as the detail, you have this little tie there. Just a little simple detail. It doesn't actually bring this in, it's just for show. I'm not like putting a tie and making this like gather or anything like that. So I have a ton of other ideas for hacking this top, using it like a blank slate, as I said. And in 2 more days, you're gonna have the next hack. So I hope you find these little hacks interesting, fun to watch. I'm certainly having fun sewing them, and I love wearing these modifications. You see the neckline is lower now. This is how I like it, how I would prefer the neckline to be. So just an inch lower is fine. It's still high-ish, you know. I will have the next hack up on the channel the day after tomorrow, so you can see that. This pattern is still on sale. It's always, you know, the first week, the release of the pattern is 20% off. So my affiliate link is below in the description box if you want to purchase the pattern and maybe have a go at some hacks like I'm having a lot of fun. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you soon. Bye.